Hi, welcome back to another Mia's Bookshelf video. Today we are doing some writing motivation because I really don't want to write and I'm pretty sure you don't either, but we have to, so let's do it together. To start out with, we are going to begin by clearing any distractions. I need to clean up the floor of my room and my bed, so I'm going to start with that, and now is your chance to clean up any clutter that might be in your way so that you don't have any excuses. I got some books at the library today, so I thought I'd do a little mini haul. The first one I picked out is In Other Lands. I don't really know what it's about, but it had an endorsement from Leigh Bardugo. It looks like it's a modern, like a fantasy book set in like the modern world, which are always very interesting to read. Kind of similar to The Cruel Prince, where it starts off where Jude is in the human world. It covers 4 years. I think I've checked this out before. I don't think I've ever read it though. And then at the used bookstore, I bought 3 Dark Crowns, but it was about $3 from the used bookstore, so I got this. And then the last book that I picked up at the library today was Poison in Their Hearts. This is the last in Laura Sebastian's Castles in Their Bones trilogy. The first two are Castles in Their Bones and Stardust in Their Veins, which were both really good, and part of some aspects and dynamics of the book that I'm writing now are directly inspired by this, especially the sibling dynamics. The sibling ties are really strong in this series, and I think the individual romances are really interesting. So I really recommend this one if you want a dark fantasy with a lot of plot twists, and I really don't know how this is going to end and be resolved. But I'm very excited to read this. This is high on my TBR, and I'm excited to read it. Now, normally I'm not super structured with my writing time, but today I think I need to be, so here's the general plan. I'm going to spend hopefully about an hour total writing. So the first 20 minutes is going to be me reading a chapter of a book called The Fantasy Fiction Formula, which I usually use as a jump-starting place to brainstorm when I'm stuck. And currently I'm really stuck in a scene that I'm trying to write. I've already changed it once, and now that I changed it, it's going much better. However, I am kind of I don't really have much motivation to finish the scene, so you're going to read the book and hope that helps straighten some things out for us. The reason that I am reading this is because I've never taken a formal, not even a formal, I've just never taken a creative writing class in general, and so it's really nice to have an actual, like, clearly laid out with every aspect of the story book instead of just trying to figure it all out myself. So some people might be like, why do you have to learn how to write? You don't technically have to learn how to write, but I think if you want to be a really polished writer, just as if you want to be really polished in anything, you have to seek out other resources. So having this reference is really helpful for helping to develop and really like hone and dive into my writing abilities more. Now we're going to dive into actually writing. My goal is to just finish this. I don't know how long it'll take. I don't know like what word count I'm going for. Just as long as it feels right. Of course, now I use the word scene and I don't even know if I'm using it the right way. Oh well. If you have been having issues being motivated to write or just generally facing writing block with a scene, here are some of my tips. If I'm currently writing a scene and then get stuck, I try to change my physical setting, not the setting of the scene, but where I am currently writing. I'll go write under a tree and listen to nature. I find that going outside really is the best remedy for writing. If I pick an object and listen to it, I will start thinking of ways to describe it. Once I start thinking of ways to describe it, I can generally try and think of how I would do that within the specific context that the book I'm writing is set in. And once I have kind of the ball rolling of daydreaming about ordinary things in this world, in the world that I'm writing, it becomes so much more immersive. And then when it's immersive and when I've changed and kind of changed my writing flow, and then it's easier for me to go back to that with a new perspective because I've just thought about something different. I've maybe thought about how a squirrel in that world runs around the tree. Even if it's the same way, I imagine that tree in the specific world that I'm writing. What kind of tree is it? What does the squirrel look? What would my characters notice about the squirrel, about its actions? And I find that that's also really helpful. Another thing that is also helpful, as I mentioned, is finding other writing advice. Friends read it. I know it's scary, but for me, I know as soon as I finish this scene, Roma is going to read it. She's going to give me immediate feedback about what worked about the scene, what she liked about it. Another tip that I have and would recommend is finding a writing partner. So even if your writing buddy is not writing the exact same book along with you, find someone who you can compare notes with when you write a scene. Find someone who you can send your scenes to. View your writing partner as your Wattpad audience and imagine them leaving comments as readers wanting to know your latest update, and you'll have a book written in no time. I find that putting external pressure on myself helps so much more. I've kind of grown numb to my internal pressure. Self-designated deadlines mean nothing to me anymore. But if I have someone else that's expecting me to write this, I'm like, oh, I can't let them down. Writing buddies are so helpful because you have that extra pressure and accountability to actually be actively writing. Well, those are my two main tips: is change your setting and have a writing partner if you're stuck. Writing sprints are also really helpful, and not necessarily setting word counts, but saying I'm going to work on my story for the next hour. I'm going to work on my story for a certain amount of time this week. Reframing how you're viewing your goals is really helpful as well. Pretty happy overall. I'm just glad I was able to move on from what I was working on, and now I was really just procrastinating that, so now that that section is finished, I feel a lot lighter knowing that I haven't procrastinated it any longer and that I can move on with other stuff in the book that I'm much more excited about. I'm hoping to slowly move towards mostly writing content and reading instead of just vlogs. I realize that a lot of my recent content has been vlogs, which is fine, but I would like to stay more on the reading and writing side of YouTube. So that is what I'm going to be focusing on. If you don't already, go check out my Instagram, Mia's Bookshelf. I hope this video was helpful and that you found some tips or tricks that might help you. And I will see you soon. Bye.